Hello and welcome. It's the ninth day of May 2023. My name is Cyril Aloysius, and I'm saying a big thank you to you for joining us on another interesting episode of the newspaper review here on TAF TV. Mr. Victor Sioku is the person to look at the papers with me once again. Sir, you are welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you slept well last night.
I did not sleep well last night.
What happened? What's the problem?
So while sleeping, sorry, I'm not going to give you these chronicles. But why didn't I sleep well last night? Because NEPA did their thing.
Okay.
Not their first time of doing it. But yesterday was just unique because the weather was just too hot. And unfortunately for me, mosquitoes did their thing, came into the house and captured the house. Okay, it was like a World War II. Okay, they captured the adjustment. So what am I trying to say? As in, if somebody as a privileged like I am, okay, let me not quantify the privilege. Privileged like I am could go through this, and it was a terrible night. Not having NEPA did their thing, and unfortunately for me, I don't know how it might sound. This is newspaper review though, but unfortunately for me, I'm not that type of person that powers the generator over the night for safety reasons. For safety reasons, okay? Maybe because I don't have a gate man that I'll say, okay, might be watching over. Because I've seen incidences where generators are being turned on and it caught fire and cause some kind of damages around, okay? And with the kind of place I'm staying, the generators are not so far from the car. So my safety
You could leave something else.
nature will not allow me to allow the gen on while people are sleeping, okay? And lastly, I've experienced somebody dying of generator fume. Yes, the generator is not even close to the house, okay? But all those fears put together, unfortunately for me, I couldn't. So, sorry. So it goes down to the Nigerian challenges. Yes, I know that other places in the world go through power challenges and all that, okay? But I'm like, okay, see.
Is there anyone as bad as Nigeria?
Yeah, sure, Sudan. I say in quotes.
Sudan that Nigerians are running to.
No. Sudan is in trouble. So I'm like, if I can go through this, what about those young boys and girls sleeping under the bridge? Okay. Are they suffering? Is it mosquito that they are suffering from, or when the weather is too cold, or when the weather is too hot, or harassment that might come their way?
It's a terrible experience, actually. It's a terrible experience. At a time, at a point when we look at where we are right now and we begin to compare it to people who are out there, people who are not as privileged as we are, we just begin to give God all the glory because it's just His grace that has kept us alive up until this time. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
And lastly, there is this thing I noticed. Maybe we should just go do a documentary about these guys, okay? Every Sunday morning, there's a particular spot, okay? I see 3 to 4 young boys sleeping in front of a shop every Sunday morning. The Sunday morning I'm talking about is 11 o'clock after my church or our church service. Once you get to that spot, my brother Cyril, you will see boys sleeping on the bare floor, okay, near a shop, just close to a shop, just because of there is a small shade coming out from the shop. So you see them there around 11. So you ask the question, what happened through the night, and why is it that these guys don't have where to stay? I know that there are people out there in established countries where you still see people without homes, but in this case, young boys, doesn't. What I'm talking about, some of them might be even 10 years old. Yeah, and you just wonder.
Sad. It's so sad. Okay, let's not dwell much on that. We'll go straight now to the papers for the day. We will be looking at the Guardian newspaper, the Daily Sun, and of course the Vanguard. But starting first now with the Guardian newspaper, this one here says on page 6, I think that's the boldest headline in the Guardian. It says, discontent as aspirants, minority caucus reject Akpabio. Abbas. Discontent as aspirants, minority caucus reject Akpabio. Abbas. That story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Still on page 6, this one says, technicalities. Time wasting won't be entertained. PEPC wants Atiku Obi Tinubu's lawyers. Technicalities, time wasting won't be entertained. PEPC wants Atiku Obi Tinubu's lawyers. That story is on page 6 as well of The Guardian. And on page 4 of The Guardian, we have criminality of jungle justice. Criminality of jungle justice. Trial by ordeal and imperative of swift punishment for offenders. Criminality of jungle justice. Trial by ordeal and imperative of swift punishment for offenders. That story is on page 4 of The Guardian newspaper. And on page 7 of The Guardian, we have tight security as Supreme Court rules on Adeleke Oyetola's case today. Tight security as Supreme Court rules on Adeleke Oyetola's case today. That story is on page 7. And lastly, in The Guardian for today, we have on page 3. This one says, reconciliation not mentioned during Obi's visit. Soyinka clarifies. Reconciliation not mentioned during Obi's visit. Soyinka clarifies. That story is on page 3 of The Guardian newspaper. All right, that's the much we can take in The Guardian. Mr. Victor, I'd like to get your thoughts on the story here on page 6. That's the boldest headline. It says, discontent as aspirants, minority caucus reject Akpabio. Abbas, please, how do you react to this headline?
Okay, so the APC working committee came out yesterday to shed the news about who they want to fill up the House of Assembly seats. Okay, now, first of all, aspirants that their names were not there to be favorites are protesting. One. Secondly, a particular zone, okay, is contesting or protesting rather the announcement that their zone was not included, and that is the North Central Zone. And in the North Central Zone, I wish we can have time, but let me try my best. In the North Central Zone, where we have Kogi, Kwara, Plateau, Abuja, Abuja is not a state, okay. Now, you have those states, I mentioned Benue, right? Okay, you have those states that were not captured in these positions. Mind you, we have the president-elect from the Southwest, meaning that the Southwest has been covered. We have the vice presidential elect from the Northeast, that's from Benue, that's Shetima. Northeast covered. Now to the president of the Senate, we now have the favorite that has been picked by the APC in the name of Godswill Akpabio, the former governor of Abbas State, Akwa State.
Okay.
Okay. I'm coming. Maybe I will bring Abia to this gist. The former governor of Akwa State, Godswill Akpabio, covering for the South. Mind you, there are still issues about Southeast. You guys did not give us the preferred position of the Senate president, where the Abia State governor have come to Abia State. The Abia State's former governor, Kalu, is saying that he is still in the race, that he will not minding the list that has been released by his party. He said that he will still be in the race. Remember, if you go back to the presidential, the APC presidential election, presidential candidate election, or their primaries rather, where we also heard, although it was not made public, that the APC had their anointed one. There was news about the Senate president being the favorite one. Not until there was also news that Osibanjo was the preferred one, and we also saw the response from Jagaban when he went to Ibadan to say that it is his turn.
Okay.
If you can remember.
Emiloko.
It is my turn. Now, going back, I've mentioned about the South. Okay. Now, Abbas from Kaduna was selected as their favorite, the APs, as their favorite to occupy the seat of Deputy Senate. Okay. Now, you now also have Tajuddin. Sorry, my bad. Jibrin, that's Bashir Jibrin,
yes,
to represent the Deputy Senate, to become the Deputy Senate. okay, Senate president, okay, from where? From Kalu. Why the speaker, the preferred candidate for speaker, Abbas, that's within Abbas, from Kaduna. So you now have a case where you have the Northwest being represented as deputy Senate president, and also the Northwest again being represented as the deputy, the speaker of the House of Representatives,
Which doesn't seem fair.
which doesn't seem fair for the North Central. But for the Southeast, they highlighted Ben Kalu from Abia State to become deputy speaker. Then you now ask the question, what then happens to North Central? And coming from APC that say they want fairness in this distribution of power, will I say that they acted in terms of fairness for the Senate president? The answer is yes, from my own point of view. Remember back then, some weeks ago, I projected that Godswill Akpabio stands the favorite.
Yes, I can remember.
Reason, because the South have not tested the Senate president for a long time. But the Southeast has tested that. Okay? So for equity and fairness, I think that covers. But for the part of the North Central, what then happens to the North Central? Why is it that they are not covered this time around? But one will also ask, what happened during the presidential election? Was Tinubu, did they cover for Tinubu? Because this is give and take. Politics is a game of interest. So you ask the question, did the North Central work in the favor of Tinubu? The question might be 50-50 if I come from the part of 50-50. Okay? Remember, in the side of Abuja, yes, not a state, but the Federal Capital Territory gave it all, or most of their votes, to P2B. And that's where we also had that struggle, or the question that the presidential candidate, the president-elect rather, of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, did not score up to 25% in the FCT. Mind you, that's a case for them in the tribunal, okay? But aside that, the APC, they were able to capture Kwara State. And they were also able to capture Benue State. So why won't they see from that angle that, okay, they got some votes from the south, from the North Central, that is being for Benue State, and at least for Kwara State. Okay. If you also even come down to the Southeast, they were not able to get a state from the Southeast. So why would they give the Southeast deputy speaker but not give the North Central any position? Why would the Northwest have double positions? That is for the deputy speaker and the speaker, deputy Senate president, and the speaker of the House of Representatives. Thank you very much. I hope I've cleared the air.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor, for your thoughts on that particular headline. I have a lot of questions to ask, but for time's sake, we'll be moving on to the next paper for now. Let's look at the Daily Sun newspaper, where we have some more interesting headline. The boldest headline here in the Daily Sun is on page 8, and it says, opposition parties group kick as APC zones NAS positions. Opposition parties group kick as APC zones NAS positions. Reject zoning of Senate president to South-South. Akpabio's adoption. Northwest to produce deputy Senate president. Speaker, Southeast, deputy speaker. Okay, details of this headline is on page 8 of the Daily Sun newspaper. And on page 4 now of Daily Sun, we have fire incident will not affect our operations, according to EFCC. Fire incident will not affect our operations. EFCC saying on page 4 of the Daily Sun newspaper. And still on page 4, this one says, bandits attack church, abduct 40 worshippers in Kaduna. Bandits attack church, abduct 40 worshippers in Kaduna. That's on page 4. And on page 4 again, still on page 4, we have ECOWAS applauds Buhari's efforts on regional integration. Security. Wow. ECOWAS applauds Buhari's efforts on regional integration. Security. That story is on page 4 of the Daily Sun. And over now to page 27, this one says, Court voids Obaseki's suspension of trade unions activities in Edo tertiary institutions. Court voids Obaseki's suspension of trade unions activities in Edo tertiary institutions. That story is on page 27 of the Daily Sun. On page 26 now we have anxiety in Osun as Supreme Court delivers judgment today. Anxiety in Osun as Supreme Court delivers judgment today. That story is on page 26. And on page 6 now we have Senate presidency. Kalu writes APC, NWC senators elect. Senate presidency, Kalu writes APC, NWC senators elect. That story is on page 6. And still on page 6, we have Presidential Tribunal begins sitting, warns parties against delayed tactics and technicalities. That story is on page 6. Presidential Tribunal begins sitting, warns parties against delayed tactics and technicalities. Details of this headline is on page 6 of the Daily Sun. And lastly, here in the Daily Sun for today, we have on page 27 again. This one says Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day. IPOB declares sit at home May 30th. Remembrance Day. IPOB declares sit at home on May 30th. That story is on page 27 of the Daily Sun newspaper. That's the much we can take in the Daily Sun newspaper for today. Mr. Victor, just before we go on a short break, I would like to get your thoughts on the headline here on page 6. It says Presidential Tribunal begins sitting, warns parties against delayed tactics and technicalities. Please, how do you react to these headlines?
Okay, so the hearing has begun, and it was all, will I say, gloomy at the court yesterday, the Supreme Court yesterday, and P2B was there, and you know, anywhere P2B gets to, there will always be some kind of will I say, reaction, and people showing some love. Okay. And well, the highlights from what happened yesterday, yes, the judges came out and said, see, we don't want issues with technicalities because they don't want to waste time. They want to try as much as possible to stay on the line, stay with the framework. And mind you, some persons are already out there agitating that, see, why are we going to extend this case more than May 29, knowing that the president-elect will be sworn in, so there should be a verdict before May 29th. But if you go back to the Constitution has given up to as much as 180 days.
Wow.
Yes. As much as 180 days. Okay, for this to be decided.
So which gives Tinubu that opportunity to actually become the actual president of the country while the case is still being settled.
100. It is there in the Constitution. So it's left for us to adjust that Constitution.
Shouldn't the Constitution be reviewed? How can somebody there are cases, filed against you about the fact that you winning the elections are not really legit, and they still want to go ahead to make you the president. Where is the sense in that?
Now, let's not also forget that we just have about 3 months between when the votes were casted, that's the presidential election date, to swearing in date. We have 3 months. Okay, so when you also ask this question, will 3 months be enough for these cases to be attended to? A tribunal where you have up to 5 parties with their petitions, and you must listen to them one after the other.
Okay.
And mind you, even before then, the election happens, there will be some time, maybe 2-3 days for the results to be called. There will be some time for the lawyers to prepare their cases, their petition, before they submit the petition. Mind you, time is counting. So before election results announced, lawyers to gather their facts and drop their petition. Before you know it, it might have taken 1 month. Then you now have 2 months for the judges to hear this case. Remember, they need to hear the case.
Yes.
Go back, study the case and the evidences presented before they can make a decision.
Okay.
So will 3 months be enough? My answer will be no. So if you ask me, maybe going forward, the elections should happen maybe 5 months to May 29. So we should be looking at elections being held around December.
Okay.
So that they'll have enough time
Okay.
See, will there be more cases in the future in Nigeria because of election? The answer is yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Nigeria doesn't seem like a country where you can stay without cases. There must always be cases.
So I think, mind you, our judicial system is overworked and overflogged. So they might not have this time. And at the end of the day, what do we also want? Mind you, judgment is not about emotions. Judgment is about facts, evidences. And those evidences and facts needs to be studied to its the minute grain. It needs to be studied and microscoped.
Okay. Just before I draw the curtain, Mr. Victor, I would like to ask, can the judiciary be trusted at this moment?
Oh, that's a question. I have told them to have the fear of God.
This one that we are hearing that, it will not be televised. No media house is permitted to go. Mr. Victor, can they be trusted?
No, it's not about media house, whether they will be there or not. Yeah, it might add its entertainment part of it. Oh, come on, the media too. They want to be allowed so that they can cash out.
This is a matter that concerns the country.
Oh, yes.
So shouldn't we, as citizens of this country, be allowed to witness what concerns us?
See, it's a two-way thing. If you allow the media, yes, freedom of speech. Mind you, even in the US, not all cases that they allow media. Okay. In this case,
we are not US. We are not United States of America.
Okay. The UK too. The people that we are copying.
We are not them. But we are Nigeria.
But if you check properly, they may still have their options of reason why they don't want that option. Okay. You might come from the side of national security. You might say I want to go advanced, but national security is also part of it. You might not want the world to see all your loopholes and all that. Okay. Secondly, you might not also want those evidences, people presenting evidences. You might want them to be, their faces not to be known everywhere because of reactions. Okay. Somebody might not.
So they don't get haunted, something like that.
Exactly. Somebody might come out and give an evidence for Tinubu, and when they see that person in so place, they might carry plank and plug the person. I don't get my point. But in terms of security,
there are ways to go about this. How about these persons, come out maxed?
My brother,
Would that be another way?
My brother, you just too much. For me, let it just flow.
Because I smell foul play. I don't know about you, but I smell foul play.
No. That's not the issue for me.
Okay, let's go on a short break right now. And when we return, we'll take our last paper for the day and we'll call it a day. Please stay tuned.
Hey there, are you looking to record your videos, do your voiceovers and take your professional pictures? Look no further. With our state-of-the-art newsroom, photography, kitchen for our food content creators and exclusive children's studio, we certainly can deliver the best studio experience. Our carefully designed studio space can bring your diverse creative content ideas to life. We aim to consistently serve value to our customers far and wide. Come, let Tharv Media give life to your dreams. Tharv Media, a slice of infotainment.
Still on the newspaper review, you are welcome back to join us, and we'll be looking at the Vanguard newspaper now. And this one here, this headline here on page 5 of the Vanguard says, avoid technicalities, delays, court warns parties, lawyers. Avoid technicalities, delays, court warns parties and lawyers. That's the reason on page 5 of the Vanguard. On page 8, I beg your pardon, this one says 10th NAS APC zone Senate presidency to South-South, Northwest gets a speaker slot. 10th NAS APC zones Senate presidency to South-South, Northwest gets speaker slot. That's the reason on page 8 of the Vanguard. And on page 32 here in health, this one says cancer, Nigeria lagging in brachytherapy treatment. That's according to experts. And on page 17 here, this one says that apology from the president. Okay, that's coming from Jidea for Adibe. And in the world of sports, on page 39, this one says Champions League. Fireworks as Real Madrid battle Manchester City for final ticket. Champions League. Fireworks as Real Madrid battle Manchester City for final ticket. That story is on page 39 of the Vanguard newspaper. On page 9 of the Vanguard, we have picketing. Labour tackles FAANMD over comments. Picketing. Labour tackles fan MD over comments. That story is on page 9 of the Vanguard. And on page 13, we have religious politics will destroy Nigeria. Governor Sule warns. Religious politics will destroy Nigeria. Governor Sule warns on page 13. And over now to page 9 again. This one says Sudan crisis. 129 more evacuees arrive Abuja. Sudan crisis. 129 more evacuees arrive Abuja. That's on page 9 of the Vanguard. On page 6 we have prospective bride. 7 others die in Zamfara boat mishap. That's a sad story there on page 6 of the Vanguard. Prospective bride, 7 others die in Zamfara boat mishap. That's a sad one there on page 6. And on page 34, we have AFAM. Federal government presents discharge certificates to Transcorp Power Limited. Federal government presents discharge certificates to Transcorp Power Limited. That's on page 34 of the Vanguard. On page 10, we have reconciliation not discussed during Obi's visit. Reconciliation not discussed during Obi's visit, according to Soyinka on page 10. On page 7, we have terrorist attack Kaduna Church. I beg your pardon. Terrorist attack Kaduna Church. Abduct 40 worshippers. That's on page 7 of the Vanguard. And lastly, in the Vanguard for today on page 19, this one says CBN bans foreign banks. Rep office from banking business. CBN bans foreign banks rep office from banking business. That story is on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Mr. Victor, I would like to get your reaction to the news on page 39. Okay, we're going to be rounding off this program, this show on sports. On Sports Now, Sports Matters. Okay, today is the Champions League Champions League semi-finals between Real Madrid and Manchester City. You know, we saw these two teams clashed last season, the Champions League, and at about 89 minutes to go in that particular game, semi-final, I think quarter-final, I think so. Real Madrid had 99.9 chances of being knocked out of that game. They had zero hopes of being coming back from that game, but boom, Madrid being who they are in the Champions League, they did what they know how to do best, and then they scored about 2 goals in 2 minutes, I think.
In 3 minutes.
In 3 minutes, and had to stun Guardiola's side in that particular fixture. And right now, both teams meet again this year in the semi-finals. What do you make of this fixture? Do you see?
Might not happen the second time, man.
This is Madrid, the best team in the Champions League by history. Okay, nobody can write off Madrid.
Serious. It's a two-way thing.
And when Rooney is saying that Manchester City would beat the hell out of Real Madrid this time around, Anthony Cruz replied him and said, "That was what you said last year. What happened? What happened?" So I don't know.
See,
it's a tough game, actually, tough game.
Yes, tough game. Now you have the Man City that have never been this prolific. That have the Haaland boy, the golden boy.
Okay.
The boy that his record,
okay,
it will take maybe 5 decades for that record to be broken.
In the Premier League, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You have such boy with City. They are better than what they were last year.
Okay.
But you also ask, are Madrid better of what they were last year? The question is no. They are not.
Okay.
But yes, you come out with Champions League is their fortress. That is where they showcase their
history. Always has a way of, affecting games like this. Yes. If you look at current forms for both teams, anybody in his right senses would easily give Manchester City the win over Madrid because of current form, current, team synergy, how they play. Even when it comes to squad depth, Man City are the real deal currently. But like I said before, nobody can write off Real Madrid when it comes to a Champions League game. They know how to win.
I don't know how.
Just like Sevilla know how to win the Europa League. Real Madrid they know how to win the Champions League. They just know how to win it.
I don't know how.
Stresslessly.
But I don't know, Siri. I don't know how they will do it tonight. The first leg, where they can walk the midfield,
Okay.
and make Haaland impotent. I don't know how they will do it.
Listen. Madrid have stars. They have Kamavinga. They have Tchouaméni. They have Modric. What are we all saying now? Why is everybody sounding like yes?
But they are still Bernardo Silva.
See.
Let's just do the pass.
Mr. Vito, let's just say it as it is. It's going to be a very tough game tonight. Okay, both teams would give it their all, but I see Madrid taking the day. That's my own prediction. I see Madrid taking the day. I don't know about you. Yes, anybody can just give Man City the win because of Haaland. Haaland is in crazy form. His connection with De Bruyne this period and Bernardo Silva have been exceptional. Yes, but if you ask me, I don't know. Personally, I feel like Manchester City are a more dangerous team without Haaland. That's my own opinion.
How now? Somebody that has done more than 40 goals.
Wait now. Have you noticed that whenever Haaland is playing, Manchester City's attack seems rigid compared to when he's not playing, when they have the likes of Julian Alvarez playing. The attack now looks more fluid and you don't know who is going to be the goal scorer. Unlike when he's on the pitch, they know that, okay, he's the main man up front. So if that's like Madrid now, for instance. Madrid, you know that, okay, if you're able to stop Vinicius from making those runs from the side, you can somehow neutralize Benzema from scoring because he depends on the passes from Vinicius and Rodrigo to an extent to get the goals. Similar case goes to Haaland. He depends on passes from the likes of De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan. As long as those passes can be stopped from coming into that man, then I see Madrid taking the day.
What about their top now? What will Madrid do that they don't have Benzema this time around? He was so instrumental last season.
Definitely. But you know, Madrid always has a way of doing these things. I don't know how to do it. Even when it seems like, yes, they are predictable. You know Benzema is going to be the one to score.
Rodrigo will come in.
Yes. You know he's going to be the one to score, but you just can't stop them. I don't know how to do these things, but let's keep our fingers crossed, football fans. We would like to get your predictions for the game. You could predict it on the comment section on this post. And thanks so much for watching. This is the end of the newspaper review for now. Please, if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, make sure you do so. And you could check us out on our different social media platforms as well, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok. You could check us out at TAF TV. And on Instagram, we are TAFTV_NG. Cyril Aloysius is my name. Until we come your way again next time, do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now, and thanks for watching.